Right, so here's the first of our half-term specials. So this is the selected solutions to the November 21 paper 2. You can see here that we can work right the way through question 1 to 8, and then we can pick up a few extra marks on 11 and 14 too. So question 1. A rectangle has sides of length 2 bracket 3a minus 7 and 5a plus 4. Form an expression in terms of a for the perimeter of this rectangle. You must simplify your expression. So the perimeter would be the total distance around the outside of the shape. So it'll be that twice plus that twice. So we're going to have 2 bracket 3a minus 7 plus 2 bracket 3a minus 7 plus 5a plus 4 plus 5a plus 4. There are different ways of doing this. You could have doubled that up there and so on, but that's probably the easiest way. We can then clear out the brackets. So 2 times 3a, 6a, 2 7s are 14, positive, negative, signs are different, answer's negative. That would be the same. And then with this one, there's just 1 outside the bracket, so it'd be 1 times 5a is 5a, plus 4, plus 5a, plus 4. Simplify by gathering up all the a's, so I get 6a, 12a, plus another 10a is 22a. 6, 12, 17, 22a, and then here I've got minus 14, take away 14 is minus 28, plus 4 is minus 24, plus 4 minus 22. So the perimeter of that rectangle is going to be 22a minus 22. 3 marks for that, 1 mark for having the perimeter as the sum of your 4 sides, 1 mark for getting rid of all the brackets, 1 mark for your final simplification. Question 2. Company has 2 sites. One is in North Wales and the other is in South Wales. The pie charts below show the distribution of its 96 part-time staff and its 150 full-time staff. So the 96 part-time staff are shown in that pie chart, and the 150 full are in that pie chart. Person has chosen them at random from the company's 246 staff members. So that's the 96 and the 50 added together. What is the probability that this person works at the site in North Wales? So in order to answer that, I need to know how many people work in North Wales. So in this pie chart, that's going to be a quarter of the 96. So if I say North Wales part-time will be 1/4 of 96, 25% or 0.25, however you want to work it out. 96 divided by 4. So there's 24 North Wales workers there. And then for this one, we don't have to measure this. If they're telling it's 144. So North Wales full-time will be 144 out of the full pie, which is 360 degrees, multiplied by 150 in this case. So this one is a fractiony one. So on your calculator, use the fraction button. 144 on the top, 360 underneath, times 150 equals 60. So the total number of North Wales workers are going to be the sum of those two. So the probability North Wales worker will be 60 plus 24, 84, out of total number of workers, which is 246. And that's all you need to do. Don't need to cancel it down, don't need to turn it into a percentage, just leave it like that. So there'd be 1 mark for the calculating the quarter. There'd be a method mark and an answer mark for the 60. So the method for 144 and 360, and then a final mark for your turning that into a probability measure. Question 3, trial improvement. A solution of the equation x cubed plus 3x equals 20 lies between 2 and 3. Use the method of trial improvement to find the solution correct to 1 decimal place. You must show all your working. Okay, so when we practice these, I kept banging on about the clear method to work with. So my answer is going to be 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, or 3.0. One of those is my solution. And we've just got to search methodically to find the best fit. So best way to start is in the center, because that gets rid of half of my options. So try x equals 2.5. Write your formula out. You smash in the bracket, you smash in the x, it becomes a bracket. 2.5 cubed plus 3 bracket 2.5 equals. Put on that on your calculator exactly as you've written it. So bracket 2.5 close bracket, x cubed is shift x squared, it's the little yellow one there, plus 3 bracket 2.5 close bracket. So that's 23.125. We want 20, so choosing x equals 2.5 gives me a value that's too large. So that means that there's no point me trying anything bigger than 2.5. So I'm now going to try 2.3, kind of halfway in the bottom part. So I'm not going to retype that, I'm just going to use my calculator cursor keys and go in there and change the 5 to a 3. And the same there. 19.067, so that's too small. So there's no point trying anything below 2.3. So now I've narrowed it down to those 3. I'm looking to get it between 2 consecutive, so I'm either wanting between 2.3 and 2.4 or 2.4 and 2.5. So now I'm going to try x equals 2.4. Too big. So there's no point trying anything bigger than 2.4. So now I've got it between 2 consecutives. I can then say, so x is either 2.3 or 2.4 to 1 dp. Okay, so in chasing the decimal down to 2 consecutive values is 2 marks. Okay, so the method of chasing and then the answer of getting it down to one of those. To get the next 2 marks, you've then got to go halfway between here. So this time now, 2.3 is either my answer or 2.4. I need to test by going halfway, which would be 2.35. So when I put 2.35 in, so 2.35 cubed plus 3 lots of 2.35, out comes 20.02785, which is too large. Now if that's too large, that means everything that side is going to be too large, and everything that side would round to 2.4. So my solution lies between 2.3 and 2.35, and everything between 2.3 and 2.35 rounds to one decimal place to 2.3. So x equals 2.3 to 1 dp. And that are the second two marks, is testing between those two and deciding that it's going to be the smaller. Question 4. Show that the triangle below is not a right-angled triangle. It's not drawn to scale, can't measure it, so I've got to use my angle properties of a triangle, which is that I know they add up to 180, to work out what value of x we have. So 5x minus 17 plus 2x plus 9 plus x plus 20 must equal 180. Now this is an equation. The last question, perimeter question we did, we don't have an equation there, so we don't have a numerical answer. All we can do is simplify the algebra. With this one, we're going to get an answer out of it. So let's simplify this side first of all. So I've got 5x, 6, 7, 8x, and then I've got 20, 29, take away 17 is 12. So 8x plus 12 equals 180. I'm going to get rid of the 12 by subtracting 12 from each side. Leaves me 8x on that side, and 180 minus 12, 168 on that side. To get the x on its own, I have to divide by 8. If I divide that side by 8, I have to divide that side by 8. So I get x equals 168 divided by 8, 21 degrees. So x equals 21 degrees. So this angle is going to be 5 lots of 21, take away 17. So that one is 88 degrees, not a right angle. This one is going to be 2 lots of 21 plus 9. So 42 plus 9, 51. And this one is going to be 21 plus 20 equals 41 degrees. So show that it's not a right angle triangle. Angles are 51 degrees, 41 degrees, and 88 degrees. None are 90 degrees. So 5 marks for that. 1 mark would be for forming your equation. 1 mark will be for working out that x equals 21 degrees. And then there'll be 3 marks for evaluating what those actual angles are, and showing that none of them are 90. Question 5. Okay, we're on intermediate paper 2. No, we're not. We're on a higher tier paper 2, sorry. But we're in the overlap. Paper 2, you're allowed to use a calculator, so we are expecting to see Pythag and trig. Both of them relate to right angle triangles. Pythag is a grade C skill, trig is a grade B skill. So we're expecting to see Pythag before trig. However, in this case, that's not true. We want to calculate the length of the side AB, which is this side, in the triangle below. It's right angled, and we're given the other angle. So this is going to be trig. In order to use Pythag, you need to know 2 out of the 3 sides and try to find the other side. So this is trig. So the first thing you're going to do is recall your relationships, and then you're going to name your sides. So opposite is always opposite either the angle you need to find or you know. The hypotenuse is being pointed at by the box, the right angle, and the adjacent is the one that's left. Now we want to try and find AB, so we have to have adjacent in it, and we need hypotenuse in it because it's the one we know. So we're looking for the relationship that contains adjacent and hypotenuse, which is this one. So we're going to use, the reason that we write it like that is that helps us when we're working out whether we're multiplying or dividing. We cover up what we're trying to find, which is the adjacent. The C and the H are on the same line, which means they're joined by a multiply. So the adjacent is cos of the angle, because the sine, cos, tan always relate to the angle, multiplied by the hypotenuse. So the adjacent is AB, what we want to work out. Cos 41 times 13.8. So that equals cos 41. Can't see that clearly, can you? Make sure you close the bracket. Times 13.8. 10 point. It doesn't ask you to give it to a degree of accuracy, but if you look at the question, we got a 1 decimal place, so it would make sense to give your answer to 1 decimal place. So 3 marks for that. You'll have a method and an answer mark for your cos 41 times 13.8, and then an answer mark for your final answer. Question 6, bit of algebra. Expand means get rid of brackets. There's nothing else we can do with this, not an equation. So we've got to go x times x squared gives me x cubed. X times 7 is 7x. The x is positive, there's no sign in front of it, that's positive. Signs are the same, answer's positive. The second one, double bracket, we have to multiply x by everything in that bracket. So FOIL is the way you remember this. X times 3x, 3x squared. X times 4, 4x. X is positive, the 4 is negative, the signs are different, the answer is negative. So we finished multiplying x through, now we've got to multiply the negative 5 through. So 5 3's 15x, negative, positive, signs are different, answer is negative. 5 times 4, 20, minus, minus, signs are the same, answer is positive. Expand and simplify. We can simplify this because we've got 2 x terms. So I've got 3x squared, nothing else I can add to that. And then here, I finished multiplying, so I'm just moving up and down the number line. I'm sitting on the number line at negative 4, and I'm going down another 15 places. Takes me to negative 19x plus 20. So the marks for that, 1 mark for x cubed, 1 mark for plus 7x, 1 mark for the unsimplified expansion, 1 mark for the simplified expansion. Part B. Sarah buys and sells antique clocks. On Monday, Sarah had N clocks. At the end of the day on Tuesday, she had 5 times as many clocks as she had on Monday. On Wednesday, she sold 27 clocks. At the end of the day on Wednesday, Sarah had fewer clocks than she had on Monday. Write an inequality in terms of n that shows this information. So let's take that one step at a time. So on Monday, she had n. At the end of the day on Tuesday, she had 5 times as many clocks as she had on Monday. 5 times as many would be 5n. 5 more would be n plus 5. So make sure you understand the difference there. 5 times would be 5 times n. 5 more would be 5n. N plus 5. On Wednesday, she sold 27 clocks. So when she opened her shop on Wednesday morning, she had 5n, and then she sold 27 of them. At the end of the day on Wednesday, 5n minus 27, Sarah had fewer clocks than she had on Monday. So 5n minus 27, and comparing with Monday. And on Wednesday she had fewer, so the inequality always points to the smaller value. So 5n minus 27 is less than n. So that's your inequality. Solve your inequality to find the greatest number of clocks that Sarah could have had on Monday. So we just use the rules of solving equations here. I want to get rid of take 27. I do that by adding 27. If I add 27 to that side, I have to add 27 to that side as well. So that gives me 5n is less than n add 27. I want to get rid of that n by subtracting it, which means I need to subtract from there as well. So 5n take away n is 4n is less than 27. Now I'm going to divide by 4 to get the n on its own, which means I have to divide that by 4. That leaves me with 27 divided by 4, which is 6.75. Solve your inequality to find the greatest number of clocks that Sarah could have had on Monday. Now, if you were just solving that as a piece of algebra, there's nothing wrong with n is less than 6.75. But in the context of the question, n is a clock. So it can't be, you can't have 0.75 of a clock. So there's most clocks that Sarah could have had is going to be 6 clocks. So most clocks would be 6. Okay, so for that you would have 1 mark for getting the 5n minus 27, 1 mark for getting the inequality correct. For this one, there would be 2 marks for solving this, so there would be 1 mark for getting it down to 4n is less than 27, 1 mark for n is less than 6 3/4, and 1 mark for correctly finding the nearest integer, or the next lowest integer. Question 7. A number, when increased by 4%, is equal to n. Which of the following calculations would give you the original number? So this is a reverse percentage, which we practiced for the numeracy paper. So a number, when increased by 4%, is equal to n. So the original number, when multiplied by 104%, which is the increase, gives you n. So if you want to work out what the original number is, you have to go backwards through that, which would reverse it. So we've got to do n divided by 104%. So it's definitely not going to be any of the multiplying ones. So it's one of these two. 4% as a decimal would be 0.04. So 104% is 1.04. The 1.4 would be 140%. So the one that we're looking for is that. The number shown on each diagram below is 20% greater than the number shown on the previous diagram. Find the number that would be shown on diagram 6. So to increase by 20%, so that's going to be 100. This one would be 100 times 1.2, because we're increasing by 20%. This would be 100 times 1.2 to the power of 2. Diagram 4 would be 100 times 1.2 cubed. So this is compound increase. So diagram 6 would be 100 times 1.2 to the power of, so diagram 3, 2, diagram 4, 3, diagram 2, 1, diagram 1, 0, so it would be 6 take away 1, would be to the power of 5. So the number that should be shown on diagram 6 would be 100 times 1.2 to the power of 5. So 248.832. Compound increase, numeracy practice. Reverse percentages, numeracy practice. Method mark if you figured that out correctly, or if you'd actually worked out each individual stage, you could have got it right that way as well. Question 8, factorize. Okay, so factorize is putting things into brackets, and this particular one is a quadratic, so we're looking for the double brackets. So the method that I showed you is one that works whether there's a number in front of the x squared or not. If there's not a number, it's a 1 there. So we multiply the two end values, so 1 and 12, for 12. List the factor pairs of that number. 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4, 4, 3. Stop, you're just repeating. So I've got 3 pairs to choose from. And I now need to choose the pair that I can make add up to -4. The only one group there I can do that with is 6 and 2. And to make -4, I want +2 take away 6. I then take my quadratic and I rewrite it, but instead of writing the -4, I write it as +2x minus 6x minus 12. So I've just rewritten that because +2x minus 6x is -4x. Then work with your first two and look at what you can take out as a common factor. The only thing I can take out as a common factor there is x, which would leave me x plus 2. Check by multiplying back. X times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x. Then we look at the second pair and we know that I need to have that bracket repeated. So I'm looking to see what can I take out of this pair to have that in the bracket. If I take 6 out, then 6 times x is 6x, 6 times 2 is 12. But I need to have minus 6x and minus 12. So rather than having a plus out there, it's going to be a minus. Minus 6 times x is minus 6x. Minus 6 times 2 is minus 12. So we're nearly there. I've now got my repeated bracket, x plus 2, and then what's left when you take that out is what goes in the second bracket. So that's the factorizing. 2 marks for that. Then to solve when it equals 0, we need to choose, or we need to work out what the value of x is that will make that equal 0. So we say either x plus 2 equals 0, take 2 off each side, x will be minus 2, or this one's got to equal 0. Add 6 to each side, gives x is 6. So either x is -2 or x is 6. So as I said, there's 1 mark for the factorising method and an answer mark for getting the correct double brackets, and then the final mark is for getting both of those. If you got that wrong but then correctly got values of x from that, then that would follow through. Okay, question 9 we can't do, question 10 we can't do, question 11. The table below shows the value of D and the value of E. It also shows the degree of accuracy of each value. So this is the rounding question. It's in the second half of a higher tier paper. It's not going to be just simple. So 64 has been rounded to the nearest whole number. So 64, if we're counting in whole numbers, above it is going to be 65 and below it is going to be 63. Now we need to know what the rounding upper and lower limits are. What's going to make this number round up to 64? Well, that boundary is 63.5, and what's going to make it round down will be 64.5. Now, you know, when we did this in class, we had the debate about, yes, but that rounds up, and that's true, but we can't do very much maths with 64.49 recurring. So we work with those upper boundaries. 8.6 is rounded to 1 decimal place. So if we round it to 1 decimal place, the next value up from that would be 8.7, and the one below it will be 8.5. So what are the triggers that place it in 8.6? Would be 8.55 and 8.65. Use the formula C equals D squared divided by E to calculate the least possible value of C. So for C to be small, if we're dividing, I would want the smallest value on top and dividing that, sorry, smallest D by the biggest. If I've got a quantity of 10, sorry, that's not going to make sense. So the smallest D divided by the largest E will give me the smallest answer. So the smallest D is going to be 63.5 squared divided by the largest value of E, which would be 8.65. So we can do that on a calculator. Fraction 63.5 squared on the top and 8.65 underneath. So the smallest value is going to be 466.156 and so on. It's not asking us to round that, so that's what we're going to get. Now, if you're not sure which combination, then you can work them all out and then make sure you make clear what the largest is. So if you thought, well, maybe it's the largest over the smallest, or smallest, smallest, largest, largest, just, you'll have plenty of time in this exam, remember, because we haven't covered the whole course. So just in the back of the sheet or here, it doesn't matter, so long as you make your final answer absolutely clear. So for that, there'll be a mark for seeing that you've worked out some of these limits. There'll be a method mark for recognizing you want the smallest divided by the largest, and an answer mark for your final answer. Can't do number 12. We haven't covered number 13. but you could make some progress in that, because you can probably spot on top of that, you can take out 3x as common, leaving you 2x minus 3. But what we haven't covered, we did touch on it but not greatly, is that under there we could write like that, and then we can work out what that bottom is in the same way that we did previously. So we would do 9 fours are 36, write your factor pairs of 36, 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. And then you're looking for the pair that will add to 0, which would be plus 6 and minus 6. So you've got 4x squared plus 6x minus 6x minus 9. 2x outside, leaving 2x plus 3 on the inside. And then I know that I need 2x plus 3 there. I can take out 3, giving me 6x plus 9, and it needs to be a minus 3. So I end up with 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. So this then becomes 3x over 2x minus 3 all over 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. And then because those are the same, they can cancel, leaving you 3x over 2x plus 3. So that is one that if you spot that I can write that as a quadratic in that form, then you can make some progress on. There would definitely be 1 mark for factorizing the top, which you should all be able to do. You're then going to have a method and answer for factorizing the bottom, and then a final answer for cancelling. Question 14a we can't do. Okay, so that is one that we can't do, because in order to do that you've got to use the cos rule. However, part B we can do. Solve the equation. So because we've been given that, and it's the one where telling you give your answers correct at 2 decimal places is the trigger for using the quadratic equation formula. Okay, so you know you're going to get one of these, and all it takes is for you to spot that you've got a quadratic equation. You can't factorize it because it's telling you to give your answer to 2 decimal places. That then means we're going to use that formula. So the solutions of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So if you compare the a to what we've got, a is 2. The b is going to be the value in front of the x, which must be a 1. And c is minus 27. So we're going to put that into that formula. X equals minus b, should be minus 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times minus 27 all over 2a. So minus 1 plus or minus the square root. 1 squared is 1, and then here I go 4 times 2 times 27, 108, and then you've got to figure that 7. Okay, so what you've got here is minus times a minus, which makes it a plus. Now, if you end up with a mistake in that part over 2 times 2, which is 4, the value of the square root has to be positive. If it isn't positive, if you ended up there with 1 take away 108, which is minus 107, when you try to work out what that root is, you're going to get it wrong. It's going to give you an error. You can't take a square root at this stage, this level, of a negative number. So if you ended up with something there which gives you a negative square root, go back and check your signs. So what we've got is x equals minus 1 plus or minus square root of 109 all divided by 4. That's as far as we can go now without taking the square root. We've done all the simplifying we can. So this now is where we have to break it into two different answers. So we say either x is minus 1 plus the square root of 109 divided by 4. So on our calculator we can plonk this in just like we've written it using the fraction button. Minus 1, this is the negative button where my finger is, that's the subtract button. So minus 1 plus the square root of 109 divided by 4, 2.36 to 2 decimal places, or we say x equals minus 1 minus 109 divided by 4. And we don't have to retype that, we can just go into our expression, delete, take away, answer, minus 2.86. So it seems a lot of work for 3 marks there, but it's not difficult. It should be an easy 3 marks once you spot that. They'll always give you, or more often than not, they'll give you the quadratic that you need to get. So even though we couldn't do part A, it really makes no difference for part B. We can't do part C, but it doesn't matter. So we've got the method mark for correctly substituting everything into our formula. Then we've got an answer mark for getting it down to the plus or minus, and then an answer mark for the 2 values. And that is it for this paper. That covers everything that we are able to answer.